Students, in this video session, we will learn about basic thermal properties of matter. Name itself tells you thermal. Thermal mean heat. Thermal mean heat. Thermal properties of matter. Matter can be of three states: solid, liquid, and as well as gas. Matter exists in three forms. Matter exists in three states: solid state, liquid state, and as well as gaseous state. Thermal properties of matter mean that when you are taking any matter, like you can take liquid state or gaseous state or solid state, if you are subjecting that to heat energy, if you are providing some heat energy to that substance, what are the effects it causes? You are taking a solid substance and you are heating it. When you heat that solid substance, what are the changes observed in that solid? Likewise, you can take a liquid and you can heat liquid. There would be few changes observed when you are providing heat energy to that liquid. For example, if you take a bowl and in that bowl, if you take some water and you start heating it, after certain time, water starts to vaporize. The state of water gets converted to vapor. Likewise, if you are taking ice and if you heat it, ice is in solid state. If you heat it, then it would undergo liquid. So like that, you are taking any matter, either solid, liquid, or gas. If you are providing some heat energy to that substance, what are the changes observed? Those all changes will be learned in this particular chapter, thermal properties of matter. So when you are providing some heat energy to any matter, what are the observable changes and what are the reasons for changing? Those things will be discussed in this chapter, thermal properties of matter. So we should start with heat energy. What is meant by heat? We will start this chapter by learning the definition of heat first. As you know, heat is the word which is very familiar to you all. Heat is very familiar from your early sections. From 6th standard onwards, you will be coming across the word heat. What is meant by heat? Heat is a form of energy. Heat is a form of energy which is in transit. Heat is a form of energy which is in transit. It always flows from hot body to cold body. So first point is that heat always moves from warmer place to cooler place. That is, heat transfer takes place from hot body to cold body. Heat transfer always takes place from hot body to cold body by default. By default, without any external effects. By default, some form of energy is being lost by the hot body and that is gained by cold body. So heat is a form of energy which is always in transit. It transfers from hot body to cold body. And hot objects in a cooler room will cool to room temperature. And cold objects in warmer room will heat up to room temperature. Say, for example, you have a cup and in that there is some coffee which is at temperature 70 degrees Celsius. And you are placing this cup of coffee in the room temperature which is 20 degrees Celsius. Our room temperature is 20 degrees Celsius and the hot coffee is at temperature 70 degrees Celsius. So you need not do anything. Here hot body is coffee, cold body is room temperature. What would happen now? this substance loses its heat energy. So hot coffee gets cooled down, its temperature 70 will become 60, 60 will become 50, 40, 30. Finally, its temperature tend to become 20 degrees Celsius. Till it attain room temperature, heat transfer takes place. Therefore, heat transfer takes place from hot body to cold body till both substance attain same state, and that is defined with thermal equilibrium. Thermal equilibrium. Thermal equilibrium in the sense, so here room temperature is 20 degrees Celsius. Coffee is at 70 degrees Celsius. Hot coffee, when left for some time, it attains thermal equilibrium with environment. So it is losing its temperature, it loses heat energy to the surroundings, and as a result, it finally bring it is brought to temperature 20 degrees Celsius. Now we say that hot coffee is in thermal equilibrium with environment. So the substance attain same state. Till these two substances attain same state, heat transfer takes place, and that state is defined as thermal equilibrium. Thermal equilibrium in the sense, say for example, a body A and a body B. A and B are said to be in thermal equilibrium if and only if temperature of A is equal to temperature of B. Then we simply say that body A is in thermal equilibrium with B. Therefore, the consequence of heat transfer is thermal equilibrium. So whenever there is heat transfer, definitely the substance would attain thermal equilibrium. That's point. This is first point which we have discussed, and this is second one, and this is third one. And next is, as we know, like cold objects in warmer room will heat up to room temperature. So cold bodies gain heat energy, whereas hot bodies lose heat energy. And the next is, heat is a form of energy which passes from a body at higher temperature to body at lower temperature. That is what we have already discussed. So these are the important things which you should understand about heat energy. So heat is a form of energy which is always in transit. It always flow from hot body to cold body till both of the substances attain same thermal equilibrium. Same thermal equilibrium in the sense, till two bodies attain same temperature, we will be telling that heat transfer takes place. So as heat is a form of energy, when the state of heat energy, in order to define it, we need a new physical quantity called temperature. It is called temperature. Remember, heat is different, temperature is different. Heat is a form of energy. Temperature is the degree of hotness or coldness. Heat is a form of energy, whereas temperature is the degree of hotness and coldness. It means that heat is transferred from one object to other object. Heat is being transferred. In this example where I took hot body, here coffee is hot. When heat is transferred from coffee to room temperature, then the decrease in the temperature is observed in the hot coffee. Because heat is transferred, there is decrease in the temperature. If there is no heat transfer, its temperature would remain same as it is. Therefore, the flow of heat will make that object to change its temperature. So if you are taking an object, you are providing it some heat energy, its temperature rises. You are taking an object, as you are absorbing heat energy, like you are removing heat energy from that, its temperature decreases. Therefore, you can simply tell heat is a cause, whereas temperature is the effect. Heat is the cause and temperature is the effect. These are the things you need to understand about heat energy. As I already noted, heat is defined with symbol Q. So in most of the textbooks, in most of the reference books, heat will be denoted with Q. In some textbooks, they will be denoting it with H, but mostly you will be denoting in our video lectures also, we will be considering heat in the form of Q. The symbol notation for heat will be denoted with Q. Heat is something, or heat is the form of energy which appears at the boundary when a system changes its state to difference in temperature between the system and the surroundings. Of course, this is what I have explained to you. Heat appears only at the boundary while the change takes place inside the system. So that means when you are taking a liquid, and in that liquid you are placing a hot solid. This is solid. This solid is at 70 degrees Celsius and this liquid is at 10 degrees Celsius. Now as you are placing a solid in liquid, the boundary between these two is the interface between solid and liquid. So as solid is in contact with the liquid, heat will be lost by the solid. Whatever heat energy is lost by the solid, that will be gained by the liquid. As a result, solid loses its temperature, liquid gains its temperature. So transfer of heat is from solid to liquid. As a result, heat lost by solid body will be equal to heat gained by cold body if the transfer of heat energy to the surroundings is negligible. Next sign convention is that as when we are dealing with two objects, say this is object A and this is object B, if heat is transferred from A to B, that means A is losing its heat energy, B is gaining its heat energy. So therefore, as B is receiving heat energy, you should denote it with plus Q. And A is losing its heat energy, you should denote it with minus Q. So heat is lost by substance A. This is having temperature TA, it is having temperature TB. If at all TA is greater than TB, then in such cases, A loses its heat energy to B. As it is losing its heat energy, there is decrease in the heat. Therefore, you will be denoting it with minus Q. And as the body is gaining heat energy, its temperature rises. Therefore, it is denoted with plus Q. Yeah. Characteristics of temperature and heat energy. Heat energy is also called thermal energy. Thermal name itself denote heat. We will be comparing heat energy with temperature. Okay. Now, how can you define temperature? As I already told you, temperature is the state of hotness or coldness. Temperature only gives the degree of hotness or coldness. Whereas heat energy, it is the total amount of energy which is present in that particular substance. So temperature is the effect, heat is the cause. So simply you can define like the average kinetic energy of the structural elements of the system is said to be temperature, whereas the total kinetic energy of the structural elements of the system is defined as thermal energy. What does it mean? Say for example, you have a solid. This is a solid substance, and this solid substance has like some atoms present in it, and these all atoms are tightly bounded with each other. Okay, so corresponding to it, it will be having some temperature T. Now you are providing some heat energy to this substance. When you provide heat energy, you are heating it. As you provide heat energy to this substance, what happens is all these atoms absorb heat energy because you are heating it. and after absorption of heat energy, this atom gain kinetic energy, right? This substance gain kinetic energy. So when you are providing heat energy to this substance, these atoms gain kinetic energy. As the atoms are gaining kinetic energies, the heat energy is being defined as the total kinetic energy of the structural elements. Total kinetic energy of all these atoms corresponds to give heat energy of this solid, that is heat. And similarly, the average kinetic energy of the structural elements of the system gives temperature. Total kinetic energy gives heat energy. Average kinetic energy gives you the temperature of that particular substance. Temperature can be positive or negative. Heat is always positive. Why it is? Heat is a scalar quantity. Remember, it is scalar. Actually, this is tensor because heat obey directions. Like it will be always flowing from hot body to cold body. Heat always transfer from hot body to cold body. It is always directional, but it does not obey vector laws. That's the reason why it should be called as tensor rather than a scalar. And whereas temperature is a scalar quantity, but temperature can be positive or temperature can be negative. Heat is always positive. That is one more difference. And unit of temperature is Celsius or Kelvin or Fahrenheit. Whereas unit of heat energy is joule and calorie. Joule in SI system, calorie in CGS system. And you can remember that 1 calorie is equal to 4.18 joule. 1 calorie is equal to 4.18 joule. That is the relation between CGS and MKS unit of heat energy. Joule is defined in SI system. SI system and MKS system both have same unit. Calorie is the unit in CGS system. 1 calorie is 4.18 joule. You should remember this because we will be using this relation in solving problems to convert calorie to joule. And temperature has unit Celsius. It can be measured on Celsius scale, Kelvin scale and Fahrenheit scale. How to construct them, we will be learning in the next coming videos. And the temperature does not depend on the quantity of the substance. It is related to the average kinetic energy of the particles. As I already mentioned, the thermal energy depends on the quantity of the substance. It is related to the total kinetic energy of the particles. So temperature does not depend upon the quantity, but whereas heat depends on the quantity. Heat will be dependent upon quantity, but temperature does not depend upon the quantity. That is one more difference. You need to keep it in your mind. So very important things which we have discussed in this is heat is a scalar quantity. Temperature is also scalar. Temperature can be positive, negative, or heat is only positive. And these units you should keep it in your mind. And dimensions of heat dimensions. Heat is a form of energy. This will be having exactly dimensions of energy. Energy dimensions is m L square T power -2. That is dimension of heat energy. And temperature, dimension of temperature is Kelvin. Dimension of temperature is Kelvin. It is denoted with K. These are the dimensions for heat energy and as well as temperature. We have already discussed that heat is the form of energy. It is a form of energy. You are taking some substance. This is another substance. Two substances we have. One is A and the other one is B. Room temperature is 20 degrees Celsius. This substance has, like A and B, they are hot bodies. These are hot bodies. Now, if you are able to touch this substance A, it appears to be like you can sense hotness because it is as your body temperature is less than temperature of A, therefore heat transfer takes place from that substance to your body. So therefore remember that when heat is lost from our body, when heat is lost from our body, we feel cold. When heat is gained to our body, we feel hot. For example, if you are touching with your hand, if you touch another person, depending on your heat energy, like if suppose you are losing some heat energy to the other person, you will feel that his hand is cold and the person whom you have touched feel that your hand is hot. So remember that if you are gaining heat energy from any substance, you will feel that substance as hotter. If you are losing your heat energy to that substance, you feel that it is colder. If you are touching an ice piece with your hand, heat energy from our body is transferred to ice. That is the reason why you could sense that ice is colder. So as we know, A and B are two different bodies. They are hot bodies. You are able to touch A, you can sense that it is hot. You are able to touch B, you can sense that it is hot. But you need to measure its hotness. So simply telling that A is hot, B is hot is not only sufficient. You need to provide some proper data. You need to measure how much amount of heat present in this particular substance, present on A and as well as B. So generally, that degree of hotness of A and B is measured by a new physical quantity named temperature, as we have already defined. So temperature is measured by a device called thermometer. Temperature is measured by thermometer. Thermometer is a device which is used to measure heat energy, measure temperature. Remember, thermometer does not measure heat energy. Thermometer measure temperature. If the temperature is known, you can find out how much amount of heat energy is present on that substance. Without knowing temperature, you cannot measure heat energy. So thermometer is a device which measures temperature. And there are different types of thermometers, which we will be learning in this particular video session. So the measure of temperature is obtained using thermometer. Many physical properties of materials change sufficiently with temperature to be used as the basis of constructing thermometers. So it means that the construction of thermometer depends on some kind of change when you are providing heat energy. Say for example, when you are giving heat energy to a substance, in some cases its temperature rises, in some cases its resistance rises, like that. So when you are providing heat energy to any substance, definitely there will be some change in its properties. That properties, what is being changed, taking that into consideration, we will be constructing a thermometer. In general, temperature, like measurement of temperature is done by thermometer. It is that the basic principle involved in constructing thermometer is substances expand on heating. Substances expand on heating. This is principle of constructing a thermometer. Whether it can be solid or liquid or gas, when you are providing heat energy to that substance, definitely it expands. So depending on its expansion, we can measure how much amount of temperature, what is the temperature in that particular substance. So therefore, all the materials, whether it is solid, liquid or gases, usually when you are providing heat energy, they expand. That is the common principle which is involved in construction of thermometer. So the commonly used property is variation of the volume of a liquid with temperature. And a common thermometer, which is liquid thermometer, which you are very familiar, generally mercury or alcohol we will be choosing in liquid thermometers. What happens there is, when you are providing heat energy to that mercury, mercury is very sensitive to heat energy. It absorbs heat energy and immediately it expands. Based on its expansion, you are able to measure how much temperature it has. Therefore, all thermometers generally use the same principle: substances expand on heating. So when you are providing heat energy, definitely it expands. How much expansion it is taking place, corresponding to that much amount of heat energy it has, that much rise will be observed in the temperature. So the basic principle of constructing thermometer is substances expand on heating. Usually we will be preferring liquid thermometers to measure temperature, and we will be using mercury or alcohol. They are called mercury or alcohol best thermometric liquids. These are called thermometric liquids. Thermometric liquids in the sense, like, in order to measure temperature, to construct a thermometer, we will be using some liquids. We will not choose all liquids. Suppose you are taking water, you cannot use water as thermometric liquid, but mercury you can use. Mercury has special properties than that of water. That's the reason why it is chosen as thermometric liquid. For example, the first property which mercury has is, it is very sensitive to heat. It is like, I'll tell you that. So first property is that mercury is very sensitive to heat energy. Number two, mercury is colored. And number three, mercury is in free form. Mercury is in the free form in the sense, in nature it is available free without bonding with any other chemicals. So it will be existing in free form. For example, water. Water is the combination of hydrogen and as well as oxygen, H2O, which is mixture of hydrogen atoms and as well as oxygen atoms. But mercury is not like that. It is available in the free form, Hg. Mercury itself is Hg. There is no other combination with other atoms. That is number 3. And number 4, mercury does not evaporate. Mercury does not evaporate on heating. So these all properties make mercury unique. That is the reason why you can use mercury as thermometric liquid. And this exists in free form. It is being colored, and it is very sensitive to heat energy. That means if you are providing very small amount of heat energy, it increases its volume drastically. That is the basic property, basic principle involved in measurement of temperature. So these all properties make mercury unique, and that is the reason why we use mercury as thermometric liquid, best thermometric liquid. Whereas alcohol is also being used, and those thermometers are alcohol thermometers, that is also liquid, but preferable is mercury. As mercury, using mercury, like mercury has some melting point and as well as boiling point. Beyond that limit, if you want to measure any temperature, we will be going for alcoholic thermometers. Now we have already known what is heat energy. We have learned what is heat, and we have learned what is temperature. Heat energy is measured by calorimeter. That we did not discuss, but in calorimeter section we will discuss that. temperature is measured with thermometer. Heat is measured with calorimeter. In calorimetry, I will tell you about calorimeter. Temperature is measured with thermometer. Heat has different unit, temperature has different unit, and we have different types of thermometers even. Heat is the cause, temperature is the effect. These things were very clear till now. So let us take three different substances, A, B, and C. Three different substances. Three are of different temperatures, like A and B, C. These three are of different temperatures. If A, B, C are of different temperatures, and if you are contacting, A and B is in contact, A and C is in contact, B and C is in contact, what would happen now? Say for example, if A and B, these two are in contact with each other. It has temperature TA, it has temperature TB. TA is greater than TB. Definitely heat transfer takes place from A to B, heat flow. Till when heat flow? Till temperature of A is equal to temperature of B, heat transfer takes place from A to B. So now temperature of A is equal to temperature of B. We say that A and B are in thermal equilibrium. A and B are said to be in thermal equilibrium. Now what I do, I'll take three substances, A, B, and C. Three different substances I am taking. Its temperature is TA, its temperature is TB, its temperature is TC. All these values are different. Now, based on their temperature, heat will be transferred either from A to B or B to C or C to B or B to A. I am considering that TA is greater than TB is greater than TC. As a result, what would happen? Heat transfer takes place from A to B. A to B heat transfer is H1. Again from B to C heat transfer is H2. Ultimately, when you are contacting these three objects, finally it will attain some temperature. A will attain some temperature, B will attain some temperature, C will attain some temperature. Till all the temperatures of these three substances become equal, heat transfer takes place from one body to other. Now we say that all the three bodies are in thermal equilibrium. All the three bodies are in thermal equilibrium, right? So likewise, you are taking object A and object B. A and B are in contact with each other. If A and B are in contact with each other, then obviously after certain time, they attain thermal equilibrium. A is in thermal equilibrium with B. Next, A is individually in thermal equilibrium with B. C is individually in thermal equilibrium with A. That means A and C are in contact with each other, B and C are in contact with each other, A and B are in now thermal equilibrium, A and C are also now in thermal equilibrium. Then, if A and B are individually in thermal equilibrium, A and C are individually in thermal equilibrium, then definitely B and C are also in thermal equilibrium. This is called zeroth law of thermodynamics. And zeroth law of thermodynamics is consequence of thermal equilibrium. So without understanding what is mean by thermal equilibrium, we cannot define zeroth law of thermodynamics. So zeroth law states that A and B are individually in thermal equilibrium, A and C are individually in thermal equilibrium. It means that B and C are also in thermal equilibrium with each other. That is what zeroth law states. Now let us construct a thermometer to measure temperature. As I already told you, thermometer, here we are dealing with liquid thermometers. Liquid thermometer, and liquid thermometer use mercury. And you are taking, this is a capillary tube. This is a capillary tube which is being shown, and a capillary tube. This is first figure, figure 1. First see in figure 1. You are taking a capillary tube. In that capillary tube, you are filling some mercury in this mercury bulb. This black color which is being indicated, it is mercury bulb. So you are taking some mercury, and that mercury is being attached with the capillary tube, and that is whole placed in ice. This is ice. Okay. As ice is at lower temperature than that of room temperature, definitely mercury will undergo contraction, right? So first thing, mercury contract when placed in ice. When placed in ice, it undergo contraction. Ice is at 0 degrees Celsius. Generally, we say that it is at 0 degrees Celsius. Ice melt at 0 degrees Celsius, right? So mercury is now been in contracted. We did not calibrate the thermometer, so don't take it as 0 degrees Celsius. So simply we will be telling that you are placing this capillary tube attached with mercury bulb in the ice. Mercury is now in contraction state. And now what you are doing, this beaker is being now heated. You can take a burning splinter, you can take a stove or anything which is a heat source. You can take that and you start heating that particular device. So when you heat, what would happen actually? Ice absorbs heat energy, right? Ice absorb heat energy, and its temperature, like ice absorb heat energy, starts to melt. Ice starts to melt. Now you just mark the level of mercury when ice starts to melt. So in this capillary tube, you are marking that level of the mercury. Mercury is at this position. Mercury is at this position when ice is melting. When ice melts, mercury is at this level when ice starts to melt. After ice completely melt, it becomes water. Ice gets converted to water. Till ice gets converted to water, mercury level is constant. Mercury level is constant. Even though you are providing heat energy, till the complete ice gets converted into water, the mercury level will be same as it is at this position. It does not rise or it does not fall. Once ice get completely melted, it become water, complete water. It become water, and even you are now heating this substance. As a result, water absorbs heat energy. Water gets heated up. As water gets heated up, mercury which is present in contact with this water also absorb heat energy. As a result, mercury is very sensitive. Therefore, immediately as it absorbs heat energy from water, definitely its level rises. Mercury expands. So water is heated, mercury absorb heat energy, water, and it undergo expansion. It expands. And it expands. That expansion is again marked over here. So till where it expands, let it expand. In this capillary tube, let it expand. So it is expanding. As you are increasing the temperature, like you are providing heat energy, water will be increasing its temperature. As a result, heated up, and mercury level goes on rises. And now what happens? Water starts to boil. Water gets converted to vapor. That means it is boiled. Water gets converted to vapor. And now when the water is getting converted into vapor, the level of mercury will be remained same. Mercury level remain constant. And that position we will mark. So we have marked two positions now. What are those two positions? This position is where ice melts, and this position is where water boils. These two positions we have marked on the capillary tube, right? And this ice melt, the point where ice is melting upon this capillary tube is said to be as LFP. LFP mean lower fixing point. It is called lower fixing point. And the point where water boil, it is said to be as UFP, and UFP is called upper fixed point. It is called upper fixed point. Now we have marked 2 points on the mercury column. One is lower fixed point and the other one is upper fixed point. So the temperature at which ice melt is called lower fixed point. The temperature at which water boil, it is called upper fixed point. Now you can calibrate any kind of thermometer just by using these two marks where lower fixed point and upper fixed point are being chosen. You can divide this total length into 50 parts, 100 parts, 150 parts, 200 parts, as many parts. Into as many parts you can divide these 2 points. Based on that division, we will calibrate different thermometric scales called Celsius scale, Kelvin scale, Reaumur scale, and also Fahrenheit scale. We will be marking these 2 points and we will divide the divisions. We will divide this total into as many number of divisions. Based on that, we will be calibrating thermometers. Therefore, we have 4 different types of thermometric scales based on the divisions. Number 1, it is Celsius scale. Number 2, it is Reaumur scale. Number 3, it is Fahrenheit scale. Number 4, it is Kelvin scale. These 4 scales can be calibrated using lower fixed point and upper fixed point, which is marked on the capillary tube. That we will be discussing in next video session.